Welcome to Safety Shorts. Whether you're listening in for a toolbox talk or just tuning in to see what's new and reflect on safety, we hope our episodes are the perfect bite-sized portion to fit in your day. From this series, you can expect to hear about safety tips and best practices, learn about new ideas, and most of all, listen to safety stories from our industry guests and hear about their lessons learned. Hi, I'm Emily Hargrove, Director of Occupational Health and Safety for NSSGA. Thank you for tuning into Safety Shorts. On this podcast, we try to focus on stories because it's one thing to tell someone they need to wear a seatbelt and another to tell the story of responding to a fatal accident. The message may be the same, but the impact is very different. Today's episode includes a discussion of a mining fatality and its personal impact on our guest. It's a heavy topic and may not be for everyone, so we wanted to share that content warning before we begin. Joining me today is Mike Bush, president of Linwood Mining. Mike, thank you for being here and for your willingness to share your story.
Thank you for having me. There are a lot of safety topics that we could cover, but I think the most impactful message is this one that I can share. This incident happened in January of 2017. At the time, I was the production manager at Linwood. That evening, I got a call from my boss, a call that I will remember for the rest of my life, and one that I think everyone in our industry dreads. He told me our mine manager had just received a call from the wife of one of our employees. Her husband hadn't come home from work. At that point, we did not know if he had exited the mine. Several people were already heading back to the site, and I immediately drove back to Linwood. When I arrived, supervisors and employees were already searching. For those who may not be familiar, Linwood is a large underground room and pillar mine stretching for miles in every direction. We first checked the parking area and his work truck was not there. His personal vehicle was still parked where he had left it that morning. That is when we knew for sure that he was still underground. As more employees arrived to help, eventually his work truck was found in an area that wasn't being actively mined, but he was not inside the work truck. We knew that he was most likely in that area. We began calling his name and searching the area. As we were searching, we found a ceiling fall, a large pile of fallen material in a section of the mine that had been closed off and wasn't in operation. As we examined the pile, we saw a boot, and in that moment, we knew he was buried. At that point, everyone exited the mine and MSHA was notified. After securing the area, to ensure there would be no further falling material and it was safe, one of our miners spent hours carefully digging out the body of his coworker. While this was happening, my boss, the company president, had to make the call no one ever wants to make. He had to tell the miner's wife that her husband had been found and that he did not survive. Later, as we investigated and put the pieces together, we learned how this happened. The mine has naturally forming calcium crystals underground. They are something that employees like to collect. Company policy clearly prohibited collecting them, but in reality, enforcement wasn't consistent. If people did it during breaks, we often looked the other way. We learned later that the miner who died collected these crystals. That day, he entered an area that had been blocked off, climbed onto a pile of material, and began using a hammer to break crystals from the ceiling. The ceiling was unstable, and that's why the area had been closed. And while he was there, it collapsed on him.
I know that must have been an incredibly difficult situation for you and your colleagues. Do you think it impacted how you look at or approach safety?
I think it's impossible to say that it didn't for everyone that was involved. This incident changed how I looked at safety, accountability, and leadership. And it's something that I carry with me every day. This incident didn't happen during production. It didn't happen because of faulty equipment. It happened because of a series of choices. Choices made by an individual and choices made by leadership when rules preventing unsafe behaviors weren't consistently enforced. That's why I tell this story, because the rules that are sometimes enforced aren't actually rules, and hazards that are known but tolerated will eventually hurt someone.
If you could leave our listeners with a few takeaways, what would they be?
The first would be to never assume that just because something hasn't caused an incident yet, that it is safe. Near misses and tolerated shortcuts are warning signs, not proof that things are okay. Second, enforcement matters. Policy only protects people when they're consistently applied, and even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. And finally, leadership carries responsibility beyond production and schedules. The choices we make or don't make can follow us forever. I think about that miner. I think about his wife. And I think about the fact that this didn't have to happen. If sharing this story prevents one person from taking a risk they shouldn't, then it's worth telling.
Mike, thank you again for sharing something so personal and difficult. We appreciate your frankness and your commitment to making safety more than just a set of rules. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for this episode of Safety Shorts. Till next time, stay safe.